Welcome to A Seeking Heart with Allison Gingras. Okay, to get my own name wrong. Oh, welcome to A Seeking Heart with Allison Gingras, distributed through Breadbox Media. I'm so excited to be joined today by Chloe Langr. So happy that she would come back again and share with us her new book, Sisterhood, Giving and Receiving the Gift of Friendship, out now from our Sunday visitor. Chloe, thank you so much for coming back.
Oh my goodness, Allison. Thanks for hosting me. I've been looking forward to this all week.
I was teasing her that it would be only her that I would stay up till, not that I stay up, not that I go to bed that early, but pretty close. And I would keep working till 8:30 at night so that I could spend this time with her. But if you were with us the last time, you know that she's one of the nicest human beings on the planet, making this special staying up for her so worth it. Chloe, I'm so thrilled to share this book. Why a book about friendship?
Oh, okay. So here's the origin story for this book. Our Sunday visitor reached out to me and asked me if I'd be interested in writing a book on feminine friendship. And my gut reaction was no, like an absolute no. This isn't the book that I need to write. This is actually a book I need to read. So it was like the summer after kind of the really, really heavy COVID lockdowns. And it was just
Oh, wow.
this season of life where friendships, like I was wrestling with friendships in my own life coming out of that. A lot of friendships, like the definition of that friendship changed through COVID. I was a new mom. I had little tiny kids. And so I was really kind of realizing my need for friendship with other mothers and women in the same season of life. And so, so it didn't seem like a good project for me to write. Like I needed someone seasons ahead of me to write this book for me. But in prayer, and praying about the project, just realizing I'm a writer and I process things through writing. And
Oh,
so it
amen.
was really a beautiful chance to sit down and really create space. I don't know if you had this experience, but like usually you write the book that you need to read. And when you're writing it, you actually take the time and carve out
Oh,
space
yeah.
to think about it. And so, yeah, it was a season of life where if I hadn't have written it, I don't think I would have carved time to sit and reflect on friendship. And so that's kind of the reason that this book came to be. So I know, but I know I'm not the only one who struggles with friendship, especially right now in this season of the world and in this season of life. But it's kind of a universal struggle. I think at some points in our life, almost all of us have struggled with what friendship is.
I always say that I feel like I've always gone through friends like popcorn. I don't
Mm.
know what it is. And I loved in the book, you talked about the different seasons of your life and you kind of share how friendships change. And it really took me a moment to pause and be like, I had I had neighborhood friendships, and then I had my elementary school, and then my high school, then college, and then I got married in college, and our friends became, we actually started dating in high school. So suddenly our friends merged and they were our friends. And then we got married and then we had children and there was PTO friends and, karate parent friends. And then just that maturity of friendship. I'm in my 50s and I feel like I'm just now getting to a point where I feel a little bit more mature in my friendship.
Mm.
Um, I still stink as a friend. I tell my friends all the time, I can't believe you are still my friend. I am the suckiest friend.
Oh,
It's a little
that's
harsh to say,
hard.
but it's harsh. But I'm very honest because sometimes the worst of my virtues like come out. Like
Mm.
I'm self-absorbed. I'm a workaholic. I have social anxiety. I'm like the biggest awkwardy dork when it comes to trying to be in like public with people. So I don't really make for a great friend, but that is the beauty of it because those who are still with me, they see my heart and they see more in me that keeps them my friend. And I love that. And yeah, I've had to mourn, and we'll talk a little bit about that, mourn some friendships. But I think life without women friends is not all that God created our lives to be.
Hmm. Yeah, I think is what you're speaking into, or I hear you saying is these different seasons of life and like realizing places in your own heart that need to be healed for friendship. But then I think too the beauty of friendship being something that's given and received. So you have such a beautiful gift of yourself to give in friendship. And then you also get to receive the beautiful gift of someone in friendship. And it's a two-way street. But yeah, friendship is not easy, especially in all those seasons you mentioned. Like there's a lot of things going on in life. And so prioritizing friendship can be a challenge.
I have to tell you, Chloe, one of my friends is listening to us right now, and she just texted me, "You are not a sucky friend."
That's a good friend. It's true. You're
Thank
not.
you, Anna. My friend Anna, I love you. Yes, and this is why we are still friends, because she gets me. She gets what little I can give to her. Well, one of the things I love, you start the book, again, we're talking today with Chloe Langr. Her book is Sisterhood, Giving and Receiving the Gift of Friendship from Our Sunday Visitor. Chloe is the podcaster at Letters to Women Podcast, letterstowomenpodcast.com. And your first chapter really hits the nail on the head. It's the healing of self. And I know for myself, I sabotaged so many friendships because I didn't have that trust factor. Like I didn't trust people, I didn't trust myself, and I sabotaged. So why is it important to heal myself in order to kind of, be that friend to somebody else?
Yeah, it seems ironic in some ways to write a book on friendship and then spend the entire first chapter talking about how we are and our hearts instead of turning outward. But I think it really goes back, and I mentioned this before, that friendship is about giving a gift of yourself. And so if there are parts of your heart that have been hurt, maybe in a past friendship, maybe especially if we're talking about relationships with women. So this could also be like a friendship or relationship with your mom. Maybe that has left your heart wounded. Friendship and relationship with your sisters, your biological sisters, in your own family growing up. And so a lot of us are going into these friendships with a lot of wounds. And so that when we experience healing in those areas of our life, and realize the reason why, like the why behind ways that we interact with women, and shine a light on that and invite the Lord in to heal that part of our hearts through prayer. This chapter could open a lot of things. Maybe it opens seeking out therapy or counseling, a spiritual direction session with a priest that you trust. But when we are able to come to a place where the Lord is healing us and we're working through that journey, then we're able to give a true gift of ourself, right? Like there's so many, I can think back on my own history of friendships with different women where it wasn't something that they were doing that was really rubbing me the wrong way. It was they were bringing up something in my heart of an old wound with someone totally different, and then that's how I was acting out. I wasn't even able to be present in the moment with that friend because my brain and my heart were just thinking about the way that someone else had hurt me. And it's kind of a similar situation. And so that, like you just mentioned, trust was really difficult because I was always kind of on the lookout for being hurt the same way.
And I feel like a part of me, especially younger, when I was younger in friendships, is like, well, I'm going to end this before you hurt me. Like, I'm going to hurt you before you hurt me, or I'm not going to give you the opportunity to hurt me because I've been there and I didn't like it. So you start finding little ways to kind of, like I said, sabotage that friendship. But I really thought that was such a great way to start this book, is to remind women that, you need to heal yourself, look at yourself in order to be able to give a gift. And I also love that, giving a gift of yourself and receiving that gift. I like that what drew you, Chloe, to kind of frame it in that way, because it really is a beautiful way of saying that.
Yeah, when I was doing some preliminary research, I'm a nerd, and so researching is always the first part of a book. Like, what do saints have to say about friendship? What do people who I respect have to say about friendship? And kind of getting a lay of the ground for what's already been done, so that I can add something to it through this book. And there's this gorgeous quote from Henry Nouwen, who is a man who has shaped my interior life more so than just top ranking, like top 10 influential people in my interior life is Henry Nouwen. And he has this gorgeous quote where he talks about how friendship is a gift that you both give and receive. And when I was reading that quote, it was just like, that's it. That's what this is. Because I think so often in friendship, especially when we're talking about friendship from a cultural or secular point of view, like the world tells us we need friendship because it makes us physically healthier, makes us emotionally healthier. We want someone to celebrate with us, to affirm us. And all of those desires are good and really healthy. But we also culturally, I think, can approach friendship with this idea of, well, what can this person give me? Or is this worthy of my investment of my time and myself? Is this going to be reciprocal? Is this a way that I want to spend my time? But as Catholic women, particularly for this book, really entering into friendship with a posture of our hearts of what can I give to this woman? In what ways can I receive her and this friendship? And that just really shifts the conversation.
I love that. I'm sorry. Deaf mom problems. My daughter's making the strangest noise. And of course, she has no idea she's making it. And I can't get her attention. So we're just going to move on.
That's all right. My kids will probably join her soon.
I was in the room all by myself for hours until I started. Isn't that the way? It's like when we used to get on the phone when the kids. Well, when I had little kids,
Yep.
getting on the phone just meant instantly
Yeah.
children.
Yep.
Anyway, so
Yep.
I'm going to just do a little shout out because you have real talk. You have a little like a reflection from some wonderful ladies, and I have to give a shout out to two who I adore, Lindsay Schlegel and Jenny Koch. It's like I just love those two women, and I was so excited as I was reading along. So I do love that that the book has. You talk a little bit. I guess this is a good time to talk a little bit about the format of the book.
Yeah. So another thing that came up when I was mapping out what I wanted this book to look like was this realization that I don't really have a ton of experience with women who in friendship. And I have amazing friends, which is great, but I'm only one woman. And so if I'm writing this book that's applicable to women in all seasons of life and all friendships and all of these, like the good and the hard parts of friendship, I really would love to have multiple voices speaking into that so that there's a better chance for women to feel seen and known when they pick up this book, even if I haven't experienced that season myself. So there are nine little real talk sections where a woman will intro the upcoming chapter with kind of sharing a witness of her experience with feminine friendship.
I loved that. And then at the end of each chapter, you have, I really liked this too. The receiving the gift of an authentic friendship and then the giving the gift of authentic friendship. So at the end of each, you kind of just like give it a wrap up and then kind of like a call to action. Is that how we could probably frame that?
Yeah, especially for friendship. I think when women pick this book up, regardless of where they're at kind of in their experience of friendship, we all have space to grow, right? Because friendship is a reflection of Christ, and none of us are going to hit the mark all the way every time here on earth, at least from my experience. And so like just this encouragement that reading a book on friendship is great, especially if this is something that you're struggling with on the giving or receiving side of that. But we can't just read books. There's got to be a prayer component and an action component. And so really encouraging women who read the book to call a friend, to go sit in Eucharistic adoration, there's just a ton of really practical reflection points that I think can spur a next step for a reader.
I love that you brought in prayer to friendship. Like I thought about praying for a spouse. I never thought about praying for a friend. And then I did finally pray for friends, and I got 4 incredible girlfriends, but we were all in the Catholic Church together. We ran VBS. We did all of these things. And one day, out of kind of nowhere, they sat me down and said, "Hey, we're leaving the Catholic Church. And I know you talk in here. One of the chapters is about when your friend leaves the church, either leaves it completely or leaves it." So in my case, they left to go to a non-denominational church. And it was just such a difficult moment for me. Like I tried to go with them to their church, but I missed the Eucharist. I missed the sacraments. I tried to continue the friendship, but some of them haven't left the faith with this real heartache and this real anger towards the church. So I felt like my whole time with them was defending. And no matter how hard I tried to keep the friendship together, it wasn't going to work. And then it came this double heartache of, Lord, I prayed for friends. And this is what happens. However, and reflecting, you also write in here about seasons, friends for a season. My ministry was born out of that situation. From me going, Lord, what we need in the Catholic Church are women who know the scriptures, who are passionate, who are funny, who have all of these qualities. And he said, yes, you. And I'm like, well, I'm passionate, but I'm not the funniest human being. But he said, like, yes, you. And it was that yes to want to bring my friends, keep my friends in the faith that I loved, but didn't have the words then. But that's another story, another podcast for another day. But Um, what you talk about being like bring them in prayer, but then you also talk about being a good friend. So what do you see as the qualities of what makes a good friend good? That's one of the chapters in here.
Yeah, yeah. I have a couple little notes here that I'm going to look over too, because I love this question. I think a lot of things that make a good friend good are going to fly in the face of what we're told to expect from a friend in our culture. That these should be different friendships than kind of the tropes or stereotypes that we see a lot of times when we discuss friendship with women, right? Like we get of like a lot of women have this experience of, I don't want to be friends with women because other women are, they're gossipy and they're catty and they stab you in the back, and those stereotypes really unfortunately exist for a reason. And we talked
Yeah.
about this already, right? Like there's more than likely parts of all of our hearts where we've been hurt from friends who have been a mean girl. Like yes. So I think what's really beautiful about a good friend, the first thing that sticks out to me is a good friend is a woman who champions your vocation. Um, Regardless of what state of life you are tuning into this, like a vocation is the call to holiness. Like good friends cheer you on to become a holy woman. And I think this really is an antidote to, I don't know if you've experienced this, but a venting culture that I think is
Yes.
built into a lot of feminine friendships that the culture tells us, well, you get together with your girlfriends and you drink wine and you chat about how you don't agree with your husband on certain things and how you don't really get along with your kids, and they just kind of take your side and you don't feel alone, and then you go back and you have to enter into your vocation again, and this, you haven't been built up or encouraged. And so really I think what we're looking for in good friendships is women who champion, like who don't take a side but who cheer on our vocation. um and I think that is so necessary in today's world, regardless of what vocation you find yourself in. I think also a good friend is someone who helps you carry your cross, whatever that cross may be or cross is. A lot of us are carrying multiple. There's this French proverb that I share, or saying that I share in this book. I'm not going to say it in French because I don't speak French, and with my luck, there's probably someone who does who will be very good at correcting me. But it translates in English to someone who suffers alone insults their friend. That when
Oh,
we
wow.
that when we enter into a suffering by ourselves and we don't ask for help, then we're really taking away an opportunity for a friend to receive us in that moment. And so finding friends who suffer well, who in healthy vulnerability not only invite you into their suffering, but then also are there for you to invite them into your suffering as well. And we see this in so many of the Lord's friendships throughout his passion, friends who suffer well with him that we look back and really admire as we read scripture. And then another thing that sticks out that I talk about in the book is that friendships that are rooted in Christ, right? There's so many, we talked about this already too a little bit, where a lot of times when we meet friends, it's because of some outward mutual connection. Like you said, maybe it's karate or PTO or things like that. But and those are beautiful starting points. But if we want a
Yes.
friendship to be rooted, like our kids aren't always going to be in karate, probably. We're not always going to be helping out PTO. Not PTO. That's paid time off. Parent.
No, it is parent.
Okay.
You're
My
right.
kids
No,
are 3, so I haven't entered into this season of life. But yeah, like friendship that is good is Eucharistic. It's rooted in Christ. So yeah, you met at karate, but the thing that really is going to help that friendship grow after that season is done is something that goes a lot deeper than that. And so Aristotle talks about how friendships that last are virtuous friendships, something that the connection point is something higher than the friendship itself. And so as Catholic women, we're looking for women who enter into friendship that's Eucharistic. So meaning two things, right? Like women who we can mutually be like grow in being small and lovable, like a Eucharistic host, like just being
I
so
love that.
lovable as a friend, and recognizing those characteristics in a friend and being able to affirm that. But then also the fact that like as Catholics, we're called to become like Christ. And so in those friendships, we should be not only recognizing Christ in our friend, but then also looking for opportunities where we're serving our friend for Christ, as Christ, like Christ living his life in us. So those are some of the things that stick out when I think about what makes a good friend good.
I love that. I mean, one of the things I was actually there's 4 things that came to mind as you were speaking, but I think using good books like yours. I told you I took a picture of this to share with my friend that my couple of my good friends that we do study together. Because I think sometimes we don't know the entry point to talk about faith.
Yes.
Like how, like we're not just going to sit around with a cup of coffee and be like, so how's your prayer life? I mean, yes, you eventually get to that point,
Right.
but that's not usually an opening line. So we have found over the last a couple of years that just using good Catholic books like yours, like Sisterhood, Giving and Receiving Gift of Friendship, out now from Our Sunday Visitor, gives us this entry point to start talking about things of faith, especially if you're new to the faith or you've not had the experience of being able to share your faith or your heart with somebody like that. And I was thinking about the expression, I think it came from Max Lucado, who used to say, gossip thinly disguised as prayer request.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And that's that, right? That whole venting of, getting caught up in, but I'm just telling you this because, we need to pray for this person. Or it's like, really? Do we really need all the details to pray for this person? Or is it just making you feel better? And I absolutely loved that in that there's a chapter in here, then you talk about it does, I think it's the venting chat. We talk about the venting. It doesn't make you feel better. It literally makes you feel worse.
Yep.
Like scientifically proven, makes you feel, because you've solved nothing. You have just fed that monster instead of feeding the grace that they need to. Yes, sometimes there's like a little bit of not venting, but of sharing. But I don't think we need to go as deeply into detail as we often do.
Yep. Agreed. 100%.
Yeah, it can be really difficult. And then I was thinking about Job's friends. If you've not read the book of Job, they're like all for him until like day 3, and then they start to like feed into his complaints. Like, no, that's not right. Like you were so close to being good friends, and you lost it. So don't be like Job's friends.
The thing that I love when reflecting on Job's friends is everything is good until I start chatting with him. they show up and they sit with him. And I think we as women can be really beautifully good at this. Like just like making space for people to just exist.
Yeah.
So then I think it's just always funny where it's like, and then they start having, explaining away or trying to, explain what God's doing for Job. But it's like, I think he just needed you to exist with him. But yes. I do the same thing. So
Yep. Wife wasn't any better, but that's another story for another day. Just, oh my goodness. So I did, as usual, make 1,000 notes, but we're not going to keep you here too much longer. Is there anything in particular before we wrap up that you really hope that somebody listening to this will like draw them? Not that we're trying to sell your book, but like we write books because we have something that God has put on our hearts that we know will help somebody in a difficult situation or to grow closer to him. Anyone who knows an author knows we do not become rich from writing books. But they don't, like the idea of writing this and knowing God has such a special message for somebody, and then the person who needs it not picking it up is so heart-wrenching for an author. Is there something that that you could just be the book on the wall, talking to the person walking by it? What would you say?
I think the thing that comes to mind is that I've been in seasons of life where I've watched conversations like ours or listened to them and thought, yeah, but that doesn't apply to me because this and this makes my situation really difficult. Or I know women in that season, like, that's awesome that you encourage women to be friends with other women, but I work night shifts and I can't because all my friends are up during the day. Or I live in a rural community and my community is so small that makes that almost impossible. Or I'm in a new city and I know no one. Like there's so many people. And that's not even touching like the fact that we're lonely at epidemic levels as a society. And I don't think Catholic women are immune to this by any stretch. And so if you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, great, but that's not me, or that's not for me, I would just encourage you. There's one of the best chapters I think in there is for women who have read the entire book and said exactly that, and really encourages you in some really practical ways and how to create friendships that may not look like what you expected or what you had wanted or maybe prayed for, but that there is friendship there in that season. And so if you're listening and thinking, okay, yeah, but you're not, that's okay, that's not for me, I'd really just encourage you to pick it up and look at those last couple chapters for sure.
And I would love to just wrap up talking about the virtual world. I mean, we know that, COVID brought in this, but I'd already lived in that world. So I was just so excited to have people joining me. I love the virtual world. I can tell you that my Bible study moved virtually, and I really wondered what it would be like. And it is, if done right, if done with a sensitive heart, if done openly, embracing the technology for what it is, can be, we are vulnerable. All the things you talked about in here, authentic, vulnerable. We take advantage of this opportunity. We have people from across the state and even across the country who are able to join us. And it also kind of teaches you this kind of respect. Like, I have everybody mute until they want to talk, and then they unmute. And it gives this setting, which you don't normally get in a small group setting, where somebody who's maybe a little bit more shy, takes them a little bit longer to break into a conversation, has this peace. And so we've been able to build some very authentic, powerful, beautiful friendships. And the social media can be used. We can use these powers for good. It used to be about being social and building community. And I am one woman on the warpath to make that happen again, because I've seen it. And I love that you addressed that too, Chloe, in the book.
Yeah, I think there's so much beauty in social media as a connection point for women you would have never met. I think what you're speaking into is just such a beautiful aspect of social media I think we've lost, which is exactly what you're saying. I think it's so often it's easy in social media to kind of turn in on yourself, to worry maybe too much about what other people are thinking about you, how you're presenting yourself, whether you should share this or that, or how to enter in that conversation in a comment box without ruining a conversation, or a friendship. And so I think what's really beautiful about social media is really being intentional about it. And I think something really beautiful happens when we take our digital friendships to the next level, right? There's so many friends that I have in real life, off the screen and on the screen, that are women that I met on Instagram because I followed them, and then I sent them a voice message, and we found out we really like each other as friends, and now we get together over a Zoom meeting, or we email each other now. And so really to encourage you, not just to connect with friends, but really to kind of, just like karate may be a place that you meet a friend, to think of Instagram as a place that you might meet a friend, and really just take the next level in those friendships, because there's beautiful connections that happen there.
Yeah. And for me, it was finding that, like, I didn't have a lot of Catholic friends. I didn't have a lot of Catholic connections. And so being able to connect with these women online, and you really can build an authentic friendship that is based on our faith, is Christ at the center, is Eucharistic. I love the way you said that. Friendships are important, and I'm very, very thrilled that OSV asked you for this book. This is Sisterhood, Giving and Receiving the Gift of Friendship. Chloe Langr, Letters to Women podcast, awesome podcast. If you haven't listened to it, you can get that at letterstowomenpodcast.com. Of course, I'll have all the links. You can purchase the books at your local bookstore, any place you buy books online, and of course, osv.com. I hope that you will follow Chloe over on her website, listen to her podcast, and pick up her book. Chloe, thank you so much for making the time to talk with us, and again, for sharing this really important message.
Oh, thanks for hosting me, Allison. Thanks for staying up late for a conversation. It's been really fun.
It has been. I hope you come back. Even if you've never read another book, you got to come back and visit us.
Anytime.
Love chatting with you. You have been listening to A Seeking Heart with Allison Gingras, distributed through Breadbox Media. God bless.